So I've been getting asked a lot lately, is Last Epoch really worth it to play when it releases in 1.0 here in the next week or two? Well, I came up with 5 different reasons why people play ARPGs to begin with. So the first one we have is character selection. Then we have gameplay, like how good is the game during the gameplay. Then we have the crafting system. Crafting is usually really big in ARPGs. Then we have trade, and in my opinion, price tag. So those are like the 5 biggest things that ARPG genre lovers really kind of have. Now there are like a few others that people can like dabble in, and yeah, I'll probably see it in the comments, like what about this, what about this. I'm just saying that in my opinion, those are the 5 main key categories. So if we dive into those categories a little bit deeper, we get into character progression. So as like a new player to the game in general, you know there's a couple different classes. You have the occult, you have the druid, you have the mage slash rune master, or whichever class you want to talk about. The mage class, and you have the rogue, and you have like the warrior paladin type of class, right? So as character progression and character selection goes, in my opinion, it's pretty base, right? I feel like a lot of ARPGs like Diablo 4 and Path of Exile, they all pretty much have this same concept of character selection. But the thing is once you click into the character, each class has a different like subclass, subcategory, however you want to say it. So like the occult here, that's like the base main class. Then you have a different mastery of like necromancer, where you can go into like more minion builds or skeletons or assemble abomination and things like that, Then you have lich, and then you have warlock. Now, each one of these classes has the different subclass categories, and in my opinion, I like how it's already here labeled for you. Like with Path of Exile, yeah, it's mostly skill gem based in your passive tree, right? But this game, I like that it lays it out and gives you a push in the right direction, so it doesn't leave everyone to just, yeah, the free reigns on PoE is nice, now that I've gotten used to it, but like to a newer player, I think that this is really a solid thing to do. That way new people don't get too discouraged or too bombarded with all of the different class progressions. Now that we've talked about classes and class progression, I really think that the progression part is still very solid. And as you can see for the character progression, like I'm the primalist, I have different skills that I can get, and I have to pick and choose which ones I want and which ones I want to take. To me, that's a solid point on the character progression. It makes it so you can go in different directions, and you can literally pick and choose between certain options on what you want your character to be. It is not as limiting as Diablo 4, but it's not as intense as PoE, and I really like that. And then you have your other skills that right here where you can level up and you can go in different directions, and you can make each individual skill specialized in the way that you want it to be. My opinion, out of 10, I would at least give this an 8. So I think this is very solid, an 8 out of 10. So with the gameplay of Last Epoch, I really do enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie, I really do enjoy it. I think that it has a lot to offer, but it's kind of the same as normal ARPGs. The beginning starts off very and then as you progress, you start to see more and more mobs on the screen, and you start to have more of those big booms in your gameplay. Now I am going like a totem minion serpent slash hawk build. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just literally winging it as I go. So there's probably other classes too that have more exciting booms on the screen than what I'm doing. But honestly, the gameplay, I really enjoy it. I think that it's fun. There's starting to become more mobs on the screen, and I'm starting to get more and more of those dopamine hits. And we're starting to get more unique drops. and the unique drops are really cool when you get them. When you level, it gets exciting, like, because it pops up on the screen. I'm starting to get more lightning bolts on the screen with my character because I'm building like lightning bolt and things like that. So I really think that the gameplay is good. It's not as good as I want it to be, but I did hear that in patch 1.0 that they are going to be, implementing a new, they're going to be doing a rework on the graphics and things like that. So I really hope that they tweak that good enough to where, it makes me feel more excited about, how the graphics look. But all in all, I think it's probably I'll give it probably a 6 out of 10 with maybe gameplay. So I know that that's a little bit low, but until I see the rework on the graphics and stuff, I'm really going with a 6 out of 10. So I know that with normal ARPGs, that crafting can either make or break a game, right? You want to be able to take your weapon or take your armor, and you want to be able to make it better, or classify it in a different way that you want to be able to tweak that item, tweak your character, make it just a little bit better than what it was, or make it a little bit more unique than what it was. I really think that Last Epoch has done that. It's not nearly as complicated as Path of Exile, but I think that they've still made it to a point where you can still do that, and I think that it's going to be a good system. So as you can see here, we have this warrior's two-handed spear of mine. You can craft in different ways, but the biggest thing is that you need to look at is the forging potential. Each item has a different forging potential. As you can see here, this helmet has 24, this armor has 19. Everything has a forging potential that determines on how much you can actually craft the item. Okay, so you have to be strategic with what you do. Now when I say that, that means each thing that you do has a certain number of potential that it takes away when you go to change the modification. So like right here, it costs 1 to 12 forging potential. So it's an RNG based. It maximum will take 12 forging potential to increase the minion damage on this set of gloves, right? You have to decide, is the 1 to 12 forging potential worth making that upgrade? Now you do have different glyphs that you can use to help like reduce the chance. So like this glyph of hope, it makes it so you have a 25% chance for it to cost no forging potential. That means that then if you craft this and the glyph works, then you can do it again and keep going, and maybe you'll hit a hot streak and you'll hit like 3 or 4 in a row, and then you got yourself a crazy pair of gloves. You can do that with the other things too. You can add different suffixes, you can add different prefixes, all all based off of what crafting materials that you have. Another really big thing is that, like last night when I was streaming the game, and if you haven't hit like, subscribe, or notify, make sure you do that, because we do go live on the weekends and we do post content Monday through Friday. So if you want to follow my journey, make sure that you subscribe and follow on Twitch. But last night on stream, I was doing some crafting with this weapon, and I realized that I felt nervous to use the different glyphs and use the different crafting materials. And then I found out that you can actually deconstruct the armor or the weapon, and you can get different glyphs or get the different crafting materials for that specific thing, like minion damage. If you pick up a minion damage piece of armor, you can deconstruct that and get the minion crafting materials. So that way, if that's how you want to build, then you can juice up the gear that you have for minion damage. I know that seemed like a lot. I maybe jumbled it quite a bit, but I think that that's a beautiful thing. Instead of having to farm specific stuff, if you get a gear drop, then you are pretty much set and you can make it work. So for crafting, in my opinion, with the ease and with the things that you can do, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think that a 7 is very solid. So talking about trade, I know that trade is a huge thing with ARPGs also. because like D4, literally the trade is like non-existent. But Path of Exile, you have the website where you can log in and you can purchase things from other people for different, like divines or things like that. Now, to make a ARPG trade really, really solid, I've heard that Last Epoch is going to be doing like an in-game system, right? Where you can buy different items from people who are listing them. Instead of having to go to their website, you'll be able to log into the game and you'll be able to have a trade that you can purchase with gold or in different currencies and purchase upgrades for your character, and they instantly go into your backpack or storage or whatever you want to call it. In my opinion, I think that this trading is going to be fire. I think that it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be one of the better trading ways that a game can go. Now, we're not going to know for sure how good the trade really is until the release, right? We only have speculation on what we've heard and different sources, what's been told to us. So, with that being said, I can't really give a great opinion on the trade, and my grading is kind of a little bit skewed because we haven't done it yet, because we're still waiting on the release. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, and then once it releases, if this video does well, then we'll come back to this after the release and we'll regrade trade. But I think giving it a 5 out of 10, giving a halfway mark, because making it kind of neutral, I think is a solid way to go. Because I don't want to grade it too high because we haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean? So that's why we're doing that. All right, now on to the old price tag. A lot of people say $30, $35 is too much. The price tag on a game is ridiculous. Now, there's a lot of people that play PoE and they go, well, PoE's free to play. I mean, you can't beat that, right? You can't, you can't. Free is for me, right? But then you got to look at the old competitor D4 where they're selling horses for $65 freaking dollars. And the game is 70, and then the expansion is most likely going to be 100. So do I feel like $30, $35 for a game is unreasonable? No, I don't. I really don't. Path of Exile, I've spent more on Path of Exile than $30 or $35 because I've wanted some of the MTXs. And you guys have seen how expensive some of them can be. But you got to remember that every game and every company needs to make money. So with that being said, do I think that $30, $35 is too much? No, I think that it is a reasonable price for a game that is being released in this day and age in 2024. I really feel like that is them being very generous. I don't know how many hours of content we'll be able to put into the game, but with the character progression and everything else you factor into the game, if you want to make multiple characters, I feel like there's going to be a lot that we can do. Now, my Path of Exile friends, I know that everybody's going to be like, it's nothing compared. It's nothing compared. People are allowed to like different games. Everybody has a different style of game. Diablo 4 obviously is probably one of the worst ARPGs that I've played out of the three. But Path of Exile is, definitely number one, ranking supreme. But I do feel like everyone is allowed to like different games. And I think that you need to look at every game individually and not compare it, because every game is different in its own way. So with that being said, I give the price tag a 9 out of 10. I think that is a solid grade. I really like that grade, and I think that with this day and age, I think that is very, very solid. So with all of that being said, I really think that Last Epoch has a lot of potential. I think that Last Epoch could be a very good game for a lot of people, and I really, really think that the grade that I gave everything was pretty solid. If you calculate it all up, it ends up coming to be 35 out of 50 points, because we did 5 points. Does that sound as good? No, it doesn't sound as good, but if you look at each individual category, I mean, like the trade, it could definitely be higher once we learn more. And if the price tag If there's a lot more in game than what we think there is, then I think that that could be even better. And the character progression is still very solid, and it could probably go up a little bit depending on how this new drop comes out, you know. So I'm just basing it off what I know now, and you know, I'm trying to be very fair with my grade. You guys let me know if you feel like any of your grades are different. I really want to know. I'm really curious to see what you guys think in the comments about the grade. So, that being said, do I feel like this game is worth the purchase? If you love ARPGs, I feel like this game is definitely worth the purchase. I think that it has a lot of potential, and I think that there are a lot of things and a lot of time that you could spend playing this game and having fun. It's going to be a good bridge between Path of Exile's leagues and as we wait for Path of Exile 2. And I think that if you have something to do in between the leagues, I think that you're going to enjoy your gaming experience a lot more. And I think that this is going to help the ARPG genre a ton, because I think that people thought that Diablo 4 was going to be that bridge or that gap in between leagues, and it never ended up being that. It was a bust. But I don't think that this game's going to be a bust. I think that it's going to be fun, and I think that everybody's going to like it. So download it, play it, join me. We're going to be going and we're going to be playing it when it drops on February 21st. And I think that it's going to be a blast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and notify, and follow along on my Twitch so that way you can watch as we progress through this new game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Check out some other videos. And guys, I will see you all tomorrow on our next video. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Love you all. Let's go.